we're learning the Teichen of the Sikha from the Rabbi of Kof Tsfat, Parshas Yisro, Tov Shin Nun Beis. And the learning is taking place in the base Knesset, Tzemach Tzedek, Be'ir HaKodesh, Be'ir Atika Shal, Be'ir Kodesh Tsfat, Tevenu V'Sechenan V'Mheru Yomenu, tonight is the Yud Thursday night, the Yud Tsfat, Toshin Pei. So we'll follow what has been our practice over the last couple of months, that we'll try to sum up as briefly as we can and as exactly as we can the earlier theme of the Sikha. And then we'll come in a little bit later towards, and we'll try to cover some of the material which over the last couple of times that we've learned the Sikha we haven't managed to cover. The main theme of the opening of the Sikha is that we find that the Aseret Dibros, which are, according to many great authorities in the Rishonim, and it's brought down in Tanya and Perek Nun Gimel, and also hinted at in other places in Tanya, that the Aseret Dibros, they are the Klolos Kol HaTorah Kula. That the Aseret Dibros includes, in this, to use the expression, the Drushei Chassidus, it's koilo, the Aseret Dibros are koilo Kol HaTorah Kula. As the Alter Rabbi hints in a way at the beginning of chapter 20, also in Tanya, where he tells us that the first two Dibros, they are koilo all of the mitzvahs asay and all the mitzvahs lois asay, the Kol HaTorah Kula. And it's well known that there's certain great authorities, not necessarily from Lubavitch, but certain great authorities that they showed how each letter of the Aseret Dibros is connected with a certain mitzvah in the Torah, or is koilo more than one mitzvah in that one letter. So altogether, with the letters in the actual letters of the Aseret Dibros, through that we make reference and connection with all of the Tariq mitzvahs midoraisa plus the Sheva mitzvahs midorabon. So it follows, look, he said, the Aseret Dibros is a yesod. It's a fundament and a cloud in the whole of Yiddishkeit. Being that the case, it arouses our curiosity that there are two Aseret Dibros in the Torah. We have the Aseret Dibros in our Parsha, but that is Vayidaber Elokim es kol ha'dvarim ha'eleh leimer. That is the Eibishter himself, as it were, addressing us, and he gives us the Aseret Dibros, which means that they are essentially a gilui of the Eibishter himself to the Jewish people. So it's brought down in Rashi that the Eibishter said all the Aseret Dibros Dibur Echad, and it was only later that they were given over in detail, either by Moshe Rabbeinu, according to a lot of opinions, but that's the opinion we're going to follow here, or the Eibishter himself came on each Dibur and gave that over separately with a biur, as it were, minimally of Rabbanim to all the Jewish people who were at Matan Torah. However, we see that there's another set of dibris in Parshas Chanan in Sefer Dvarim, which Moshe Rabbeinu is already talking over there. And Moshe Rabbeinu, he gives us over the Aseret Dibros, and there are certain, what we might call shinuim, or changes, alterations in the expressions and some of the implications for chulu in the language of the different dibros over there by Moshe Rabbeinu. However, what is of particular interest to us is that Moshe Rabbeinu, in the whole of Sefer Dvarim, in the whole of Mishnah Torah, Tosafos tells us at the end of Masechta Megillah that Moshe Rabbeinu, he said over the whole Sefer Dvarim, mipi atmai, he said it from his own self, but Tosafos adds, avo beruach hakodesh. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu combined, as it were, like two very fascinating inyonim in the Aseret Dibros. Mitzad echad, it was Moshe Rabbeinu speaking. It was him repeating and chazering over all that he'd heard from the Eibishter. On the other hand, it's all divinely inspired, and it was all what Hashem would have wanted him, and not only would have wanted him, but did absolutely, doubtlessly give him over what he should say. However, in the early Aseret Dibros that we have here, like all the other Sforim of the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu was just like a vessel. He was like what we call a funnel. He just received the divine messages and the divinity directly from the Eibishter, and he did not interfere. Only very, very minimally did he, as it were, have an effect on what was given to him, and that's called derech ma'avir bilvad. We'll talk about it if we get to it. We'll talk about that a bit later. However, it follows that Moshe Rabbeinu is already a neshama in a guf. Moshe Rabbeinu is already in this world, and therefore we have to assume that the Aseret Dibros, as they're given over by Moshe Rabbeinu, the ability and the necessity, and we'll see the koyach, the Nesinas koyach, to bring that down, the divine message which is given from the Eibishter directly from himself, is given into a very, very, albeit tremendously elevated human being like Moshe Rabbeinu, but it's given into the field of man, in that he should be able to, mitzad him, the way he is down in this world, on the shoma, inside the guf, in the world, he should be able to receive that divine message and carry out the ultimate taklis of that, which we'll see is dira lo yisbarach betatoinim, to make a a dwelling for the Eibishter in this world. So therefore, the Rebbe says, if so, one could ask the question, why did we need Hashem, first of all, to give the Aseret Dibros that we have? But that's all him speaking, when the ultimate purpose is to bring it down into this world and to make ultimately a dira lo yisbarach, and that would seem to be carried out by Moshe Rabbeinu. So why do we need, as it were, both? Why do we need the Aseret Dibros of HaKodesh Baruch, which is only him talking, as it were? And then we need the Aseret Dibros that they seem to be the main ultimate taklis, but that is to bring it down into the world. And so the Rabbi develops on what is the essential difference between the two Dibros. If we say that the Dibros that we have in our Parsha are all from Hashem, And we, based on the klal in the Zohar HaKodesh, that the Eibishter and the Torah are all one, mamish, it follows Lefi that the reason we could suggest that Hashem gave us those dibras is that a man should be able to come to what is called the emes bitul, how do you call it, the emes self-nullification, and the emes sense of his complete involvement in Elikus, knowing that this is mamish directly from the Eibishter, and therefore when he learns it, when he learns Torah, he learns it in a way that he is completely and utterly batil, legamri, and he's just as it were, a receiver from above. And that affects also his learning, that he learns in such a way that he really just gives over what Hashem says. And we find that it's brought in Chassidus and based on certain psukim, that in effect there is such an entire the Alter Rebbe develops on it at some length. That's the greatness of the Tanoim and the Amoraim, that they learned Torah in a way that they were completely and utterly bottled, the Beetle Mukla to Hashem. And therefore, they were zoicher that whatever they said and whatever they gave over, that was just the Dvar Hashem. And if somebody, as it were, unites himself and tries to learn Torah genuinely, the way it should be with the emes bitul muklat that we're talking about, he can also be like that. He's not maybe going to be as great as let's say Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, what he was a Tana, or even like a Bayavarova, etc., amongst the Amoraim. But nonetheless, he'll be able to say about himself also, Tahan l'shoini im rosel, that I am just answering and giving over what you've told me. I'm not really entering here into any, as it were, active part of my own. I'm just giving over. When I learn, I'm announcing into the world the divine ruling or message or svara or whatever that may be in that particular inyan in the Torah. It's not really so important, my seichel and my, as a value, I have to learn my seichel in order to give it over properly. But it's not really me. I'm just like a form, once again, like Moshe Rabbeinu was. I'm like a form of a funnel. I just take it into the top and I give it out. So the Rebbe says that's how the dibras are mitzad Hashem. You react, it's all from him. And you're not really there. Bittul mukla. However, the dibras of Moshe Rabbeinu are already a neshama in a guf, and he's giving over, albeit with divine inspiration, what Hashem said, but it's already becoming your metzias as a person. Is becoming important. We're already paying attention to you, and you have to use your own seichel and your own strength and your knowledge and your own abilities to understand the Torah, and through that you become united with the Torah, and then you bring it over into the world, and it becomes like a medium through which Elikus goes through you into as it were, a world which is a Matthias, and Hashem wants it to be there, because he wants that there should be a inyan of what the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya. Hashem, the Medrash in the Yalkut and other places, Tatoinim, dear Rebbe, Tatoinim. From that we see that the ultimate purpose of the whole inyan of the Torah, particularly this is Klolos HaTorah, is to make a dear lo yisbarach b'tatoinim. We have to, as it were, have, or we were given the unbelievable koyat that we have two aspects through which we can make the Dira lo Yisbarach, b'tatoyin. The Eden that the Eibishter gave us the Seres Dibris, or that Hashem made it possible that for me to reveal Him the way He is. In other words, as if I learned Torah in an Amazon, Aleph away, the way I'm supposed to. And like it's brought down in some of Bob, at the end of the second Hampshire, there's a huge aretas from the Rebbe Rashab there that Emes Loimet Torah, he's a bench and as a Eved, he doesn't learn Torah because he wants to understand and have knowledge and all that. He only learns Torah in order to reveal what is the kavanah of the Eivishter. But nonetheless, he does that. And through that, he reveals the essence of Hashem into the world. Yeah. Or let's put it this way, he makes that possible. He brings about a revelation of Hashem, because the Aseres HaDibros are mitzvah Eivishter. However, he said the Aseres HaDibros mitzvah Moshe Rabbeinu, they make it possible that we can actually unite all this with the world. In other words, to bring it down and to actually make a Dira lo Yisbarach b'tatoyin. In other words, that Hashem will actually enter and dwell in the Metzias of the lower world. In other words, not like it was at Matan Torah, that every moment that they heard Diburim from Hashem, how do you call it, Porcha Nishmasam, or Al Chapanim Yotzon Nishmasam, the way it's written in the Gemara, but Chassidus brings Porcha Nishmasam, that the Nishamas flew out of their body, and that was Bittul of Metzias. The Koyach of the Seres HaDibros of Moshe Rabbeinu make it possible that we can be a Metzias in the world and still receive Atzmusay. But we become, as it were, the beginning of the Dira lo Yisbarach. We are the living entity of that Dira, and then we bring it also further into the actual Metzias of the world. Once again, we see that these two nuances of the Etzem Aseres HaDibros through Etzem HaShkodesh Baruch Hu, and the Aseres HaDibros through Moshe Rabbeinu, who himself is a neshama in a guf. He will be higher than us, but he's with us in this world. Well, that gives us the courage to make the Dira also a proper and Emes Dira, because the Emes Dira is where you have a Metzias of a Dira, and the Dayar, the one who lives in the Dira, he comes in his essence. So the ability to bring down the essence is given by the first Dibros, by Yidave Elokim as God. And the Dibros by Moshe Rabbeinu achieved the unbelievable achievement of leaving everything as it were, Hametzias, and yet nonetheless receiving and being Mekabel in a way that he dwells in us, Mamish, the very essence of Hashem. Of Amila, it's as it were, it's like a picture of a Messina square, that the two come together. How do you call it? The twain do meet, not that near the twain, but they do meet. How do you call it? The very essence of a rice of a kucher brichu kulachat, the Avish and the Torah, all one essence, they come down and reveal in a world that remains a world. It doesn't turn into a bottle of a Matthias world, but it remains the way it is, and Hashem comes and dwells. So that's like a very brief and very limited summing up of what we've had so far. So we're now going to come in on page 246, and we're going to learn a bit, hopefully, that will take us somewhat towards the end of the Sikha, because we have a very honored guest with us this evening who has something to tell you about and something to offer to you and everything. And so I want that he should have an opportunity to address you a bit and talk with you. So we'll sort of we'll keep it as brief as we can, but we always say that. So we'll just see how we go. L'chaim. So we're now going to. So the Rebbe, like we've seen in so many of these wondrous sikhas, all the way through all these Dvar Malchus, the Rebbe describes to us what appear to be two tremendously high inyanim, one in the higher level and the other in the lower level. And the ultimate shleimus is dafka when you have them together, and they come and they unite, and one becomes, as it were, a medium through to express the other. So we're going to see now that the Rebbe says that l'chora we've reached a good point. We've said that the etzem of the Eibishter, or that comes down and dwells in the world. But the Rebbe said that carries out the lashon of the Medrash over there, or the Medrash Tanchuma. It is be'etzem, it's a Tanchuma, that lasish lo yizbar tatoinim. What you do is you make for the Eibishter a dira. However, if we look at that carefully, when you go into a dira, albeit your etzem enters the dira, but you and the dira are like two, as it were, separate entities. The dira is a very precious entity for you, and you can express yourself very intimately and very, how do you call it, informally, which means that you're going into the dira very, very intimately. However, you and the dira are like two entities. The ultimate purpose of the Aseres HaDibros on both levels is to unite the two together in such a way that you can't separate them, and that you become, as it were, united so much with the Eibishter that you're not only just a dira, but you're a dira that he and you are the same entity. In other words, you become like a walking part of Gilui Elikus Mamish. Yeah, and that's the emissary inyan of the aim of the Medrash in saying Dir Lo is part of the Tatoyim. So that's where we're going to come in, and then we're going to see a few more details, and we'll see how far we manage to get. And that's in the 246, just before the heading in the middle, Kol HaMailis, two brief passages or two paragraphs higher than that. Then he says, "B'dibros harishonos ne'emar v'yidaber Elokim es kol hadvarim ha'ela." However, the word, the Torah adds the word leimoyer. Yeah, well, it's well known. The word leimoyer means to say over to somebody. So ask yourself the question: who is being said over to here? Who is the Eibishter giving over these leimoyer to, as it were, give them over further? It's well known, the famous diuk, that all the Yidden were there, and all the neshamas, Sidim Liyas, they were also there by all the neshamas, all those who are going to be Miskarev, and all the great Gerim, and the other bit, everybody was there. Yeah. Who are we giving over to? So it's well known, the famous Torah of the Mezritcher Magid, where he said that the word leimoyer is to give over and to pass over to somebody. So he said that you've got to unite the Aseres HaDibros with the Aseres Mamoris, and he based it on a pasuk in Parshas Nosai, where we talk about the various offerings that the Nasiim brought, Asora Hakav, that it's like, as it were, two Asoras. There's Aseres HaDibros, that they are the Etzem HaTorah, and the Asora Mamoris, but they're the way the world was made. So you've got to unite the two. You've got to bring the Aseres HaDibros into the Asora Mamoris, into the service of the world. That's what the Maggid says. However, we see from that that's already a suggestion of how we can say that the word lamor does make sense. I'm carrying over the Aseret Satibris into this Mamorit. So the Rebbe says that what we can suggest is that the word lamor, we can give it another slightly different implication, and that will be that we are going to bring all the implication of the Aseret Satibris, how the Abishta gave, he himself is revealing himself, and we're going to bring that over, and we're going to put it into the dira that we're making for him. Yes, the shamas and kufim. In other words, we're not just going to bring him in a way that he will enter the dira, but we're going to bring him in a way that we will become one united entity together, and you won't be able to differ between the actual dira and Hashem. It'll all be one thing, mamish. So that's what he says. V'yitaber Elokim es kol advarim ha'ela leimoyer, u'pirushi shel ha'leimer kan, hu shekol Yehudi b'chol zman yuchal lachzer v'leimer. He will be able to go back, as it were, and give over, as it were, be moser es divrei ha'torah b'bitol muchlat. He has to be completely bottled in order to get the etzem of the Eibishter. Ka'omor, ka'oimer dover shekvar ne'amar. He will be so bottled that he's not saying anything. He's just giving over what was already said by the Eibishter. Kach nitan lahovin ha'olam ledira lo yizbara. He said, in that way, we can make the world and prepare it to be a dira lo yizbara. But that's only a preparation, because we're bringing the etzem of the Eibishter, as it were, downwards. Now he says, the dibros achreinois, however, the latter of Dibros in Parshas Dvar given by Moshe Rabbeinu, shenemru al yidei Moshe, nois nimes hakoyach shagam ha'odom, kefi shehu neshama beguf lamata, like he is down here in this world. And he's using, it's like the Rebbe says in so many of these sikhas, according to the Gidrei Ataktonim, the mensch is living like the limited laws of how the world functions. In other words, the ultimate shleimus of Gile Elikus is not to change the world, not take the world out of the way it is, but to leave the world in the Gidrei Hataktonim, how do you call it? According to the definitional, how you define and how you understand world in the life in this physical world. And you're in a body and a neshama in a body. And to bring in the very essence of Hashem, but in a way that they will unite together. So he says, "Ve'ilu adibris akreinis, noisnim es hakoher shagama odom, kapishu nishama beguf lamato." Lamato meaning down in this world the way it is. Yuchol lilmoid ulahovin es haTorah haitev. He can understand in his own reasoning very well and very clearly, according to the way we understand down here. And like the Gemara brings, when I get to the whole Malchus and Bava Metzia, there was Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanon. The Gemara says that the ultimate power to decide the laws and how they're going to apply to our situation down here is in the hands of the Rabbanon, not in the Beis Shamayim. It's all according to the way the neshamas in the bodies down here, the way they will rule. He says, and he said to reverse the world the way it is, not to make it a different world, but to change the world in its very essence, according to its characteristics and its customs, to make it into a holy place. That means that the etzem chefza of the world becomes a holy place. It becomes etzem kedusha, and etzem elokus unites with the etzem world. You follow? And it becomes a dira in a very profound way. What the Rabbi writes in the Vifnim, yeah, the Rabbi writes clearly that it becomes like one very essence with the man himself, and through that with the whole physical world. That Hashem really unites with the world, not just he's there and inside even the world, but he's mamish there. He becomes, as it were, the whole Matthias of the world. What do you say to that, eh? That's basically the picture, and like I said, that's very characteristic of all of these sikhs. And therefore, just to make it very interesting, in the earlier part, the Rebbe brings a lotion in the Medrash Rabbah, where the Medrash says that if you go in to a town or to Oslis, Lekato, if you come into a city or a place, then you should be Ozil Zil Benimuse. You should go according to their way of doing things. How do you call it? I don't know exactly how to use the word nimuse, like their customs or the way they do things. Yeah, the $1 billion dollars. It's a little bit like the old saying, when you're in Rome, do it. Yeah, in other words, whenever you go into a place, come over, and we're only talking in a kosher way, not in a way that you copy on the goyim. But what it means is that the way they do things in a proper way help you the Torah in that particular area. That's the way you should go. So the Rebbe said that's the same inyan, that Hashem wants to be Ozil Lakata. He wants to come into the city, but he wants to do it our way, as it were. In other words, that he wants to enter the man the way he is, but that should become a unity in the highest possible form. Yeah. That's the way the Rebbe built it around that Maimon Chazal. So he said, Hasiba Lakad. Shetwikim gamis adibris harushonis gamis acharoinas. So the Rebbe said the reason that we need both of them, because once again, even though we already spoke about this before, towards the latter part of the Sikha, the Rebbe, as it were, returns to that basic question. L'chora, it would have been enough to have Moshe Rabbeinu's difference. He's the real Tachlis, and he's the real Indian, and he's very, very high, and he would give me over the Atmas Passion. What do I need, as it were, both of them? So the Rebbe said, "Who biglal? What do I need, both of them? Because of the Maila Shebechol Echad, due to the great Maila that there is in each one of them." In other words, like we see in all of these sikhas, we must reach absolute perfection. We're not satisfied with just, half a union or anything like that. We have to take the Maila Shebechol Echad and then infuse them together. Yeah. So, in order to do that, we have to have the highest aspect in its fullest form. It's not enough just to have an ability to express that, but we've got to have the highest expression of the very essence, first of all, making itself available, as it were. So he said, "Adibris harishonis bo me'akodesh baruch hu atzmai," like we pointed out, "Lelo kol mamutza," without a intermediary, without anybody in between. Omnom gama dibrei advonim she'ovru derech Moshe higiu me'akodesh baruch hu ba'atzmai. That is true, says the Rebbe, that Avada, when Moshe Rabbeinu gave over, he's not just a stam, a mamutza. He also gave over what Hashem, and Chassidus says he's a very high form of a mamutza. He's what we call a mamutza hamechaber. He's a mamutza that joins you up with the higher side. Aki said, "Ha'mava derech Moshe asa mashuhu." However, like we said before, this is called by Chassidus ma'aviyah. Moshe Rabbeinu was a koyach of our ma'aviyah. Yeah, he was like a funnel. How do you call it? he received the whole divinity, Ba'atzmus Mamish, from Hashem, and he just made it possible that it come down to the neshamas inside the gufim. Just like if you can't pour liquid into a certain small place, then you make a funnel as you pour everything that you wanted to pour into the funnel and it comes down. But the funnel, as it were, alters it slightly. It's not exactly the same as it was. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu, with all of his unbelievable mindless Moshe Rabbeinu, he does affect the Gilui Ha'atzmos ever so slightly. He said, "V'haraya shekashakodish Baruch Hu ba'atzmoi diber." When the Eibishter, his very self, spoke to the Jewish people, and they heard the whole Aseret Dibros, albeit according to Rashi in a general way, but they heard. Yeah, pocha nishmosom shel b'nei Yisrael. The Gemara brings that on every dibur that Hashem said, they, as it were, lost their nishamas, and Hashem had to give back their nishamas with the same koyach that He's going to make b'tchias hameisim alidei tal Torah. V'tal v'yosid lahakis poyas hameis. Yeah, v'ilu k'shamoisha diber. Yeah, however, when Moshe Rabbeinu gave over the Aseret Dibros, yochlu kol b'nei Yisrael lishmoya. They were able to hear. Umikan sha'gilui ha'elokי sha'aya b'dibros harishonos hoya chazak yuter. It was somewhat more at etzem gilui atzmusai than it was al yidei Moshe. Ulam, he said, hu lo niklat eitiv b'nei Yisrael. It wasn't, had he got completely absorbed by the Jewish people, being as it is, Vayidaber Elokim, it's a divine speaking. And therefore, it wasn't possible that they were able to absorb that. Therefore, they said, we can't take it with the whole thing that's written there. And that was the chisoron of the divine revelation of the Hashem, that man couldn't quite take it, as it were. And therefore, we needed the Dibros Achreinos, that albeit they didn't change anything but they made it possible, and they, as it were, somewhat reduced it in a way that was able to come to man. Malchus Dibros Achreinos hoiso shahin yochlu lihikaleit heitev. It was possible for them to be absorbed in the best possible way. Eitzel b'nei Yisrael. Akloi hoyo es agiloi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmai. It wasn't the Eibishter mamish k'mo shehu diber. B'milim achiros, Moshe Rabbeinu v'dibros achreinos yotzo tashtit. He made, as it were, a basis and a foundation. She'ifshara lahochinus ha'olam kedira l'boira yizbara. It made it possible that there could be the dira. Ve'ilu v'dibros harishonos husam hadogish al HaKadosh Baruch Hu bi'atzmai. Yeah, al kaksha HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmai yishkon b'dira. B'mela said the Rebbe, the Dibros Rishonos, they were bringing out the Eibishter, and the whole idea was that he should dwell. So the Dibros Achreinos indicated that can't quite be. We have to make a certain, as it were, reduction in order for Kodesh Baruch Hu Ba'atzmai to come into the Dira. However, now we get to that point that we made before. Hamatzav ideally, the best possible matzav is kasher noitzach chibur bein shtei hamaylos. That this is always what the Rebbe says in all of these things. We've got to take the advantage that there is in both of these things and bring it together. Kasher HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmai mitgaleh libnei Yisrael k'pi shehem nishamas b'gufim ובכוחם לקבל גילוי גבוה כזה כפי שהם. He said, what is the ultimate ideal matzav is when the neshamas, the way they are in this world, the neshamas b'gufim, and in a world which remains a Matthias, they're able to be Hashem mamish b'atzmai kamei shehu. He said that's the milah Hakito. Zeu Amatzu Hato Bioter. That's the best possible, ultimate combination. He said, Velochein, Kasher Moshe Omar Saseres Dibris Achreinois, Kehemsher Dibris Arishoina. In other words, if Moshe Rabbeinu would have just said the Dibris somewhat independently, not linking them so ultimately with the Rishonis, then you might have been able to be Mechaber, the two of them, but you would have had the Dira in the way we described, that the Dira is one thing and Hashem is the other. However, he said the power that Moshe Rabbeinu brought into the world and in the picture is that who goram lekach שגם הגילוי של הקודש ברוך הוא עצמוי והייתה באלוקים שהויו בדיברס הראשונס יוכל להיקלט בפנימיוס אצל בני Israel. In other words, that they should be able to take it in a way that they are the Ika Hadira and they will be mamish united with the Etzem Inyan of Atzmas Elokus. כל יהודי יוכל על ידי לימוד התורה לגלס את הקודש ברוך הוא ולהיסחד עמוי. He will have not only the ability to reveal Hashem, but Hashem will remain somewhat, as it were, beyond, but he'll be able to reveal the Eibishter and to bring him down and mamish to unite with him, yes. Kan, in other words, in this world, neshama b'guf b'elam hazeh. Avamela nimtza l'pi zeh, that Moshe Rabbeinu has got, as it were, a double function. He's got almost like two nuances. First of all, Moshe Rabbeinu gives over the Dibras a second time, and he makes it generally possible that there should be another possibility of this world and the Shomas Yikopim that they should be able to receive. But he could have done it in such a way that Einochanami, but they remain, as it were, still somewhat different things, and it still would have been described as a dira. You could still say it was a dira. He said, however, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do it that way through his unbelievable bittul to Hashem and his unbelievable Mesiras Nefesh. Moshe Rabbeinu made it possible that the two come together, mamish, and you as a Yehudi, a Neshama and a Guf, you become a dir le'etzem HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself in a way that you and him are mamish one or something. Yeah. That's mamish a pili plus from the Tzah. That's the emissary function of Moshe Rabbeinu. The second Dibris are really an amazing thing. I want to try and finish early so that Rabbi Schlanger can have something to say for a few minutes. However, we'll just we'll deal somewhat briefly, even though this is very powerful stuff. So the Rebbe goes on now, and having reached that final conclusion, the Rebbe then switches the whole direction of the Sikha to the day in the month and the Tarichim in the month of Tsfat that this Farbringen was taking place, which is the same that we have. It was Kof in the month of Tsfat, Parshas Matan, and the Sersa Dibris, that was Kof Tsfat like it is now. So the Rebbe says, Gam b'tarichi ha'chodesh nitan lirois es hakesher li'ichod shel ha'elokus she'eino yocholo mitzad atzmo lizgalos ba'olam yachid ha'odam ba'olam. We can see this impossible task that's carried out by Moshe Rabbeinu to unite the union of Etzem Elokus, which mitzad its own self wouldn't be able to come into the world, which nonetheless, through the effort of Moshe Rabbeinu, it did come into the world. So he says, Chodesh Shvat b'klal, nikra Chodesh Achad. So it's one that the 11th month is Chodesh Shvat. So he said, Hechel mi Rosh Hashanah l'Chodoshim, which is Nisan. As we're told in Parsha Boi, that from the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim, Bahala, at the beginning of Jewish year counting, begins from Chodesh Nisan. Over the 11th month, through the whole year, from Nisan Ishvat. So he said 11, Beklal, the number 11, Misamel Esam Halamayla Miateva. The whole Indian, because 11 is 1 over 10. 10 is like the Seder of the Esser spheres, and they have a certain connection with the function, what you might call it in inverted commas, the normal function of the world. How it is according to all the laws of the Teva and the way things function. However, he said, Chadesri is like we're starting all over again. We're going up into a new Aleph, which is higher and beyond all of those 10. So he said that indicates the inyan of Lamaila Miasora Aseres Adibres, or Miasora Hamamoris Shebehem Nivra Ho'ilam. This is higher than all the inyanim, higher than all the even the Hamshocha of the Aseres Mamoris. The Hamshocha Aseres Adibres into the Asora Mamoris. This is indicatory of a koyach completely beyond the world. But kasher magia asiri b'shvat, but that's the Yom Yelula, the Rebbe Rayatz. Noitza chibur shalalamayla mi'ateva echadesrei, what that's a month, yes, Shvat. Im eser, what that's the Inyan Ateva. So we've already got a connection. Yeah, Yud Shvat indicates that Shvat is 11, and we're joining up together 11 with 10. In other words, we're joining together the Lamayla Teva with the Seder of the Teva. Ve'ilu kasher achachak magia Yud Aleph b'Shvat. But everybody knows what that indicates. Yud Aleph b'Shvat, that's already the day after Yud b'Shvat. So he says, Ve'esrim, and it becomes also on the day of Esrim, but that's where we are now. Yeah, so he said that Esrim is Gematria Keser. The word Esrim, written in Lashon Kodesh, is Gematria Keser. So he says, B'Shvat, Siman, Shegam Teva Ho'ilam, Matzliach Likloit, Es Ayud Aleph Ve'akeser, Kefi Shahem Batar Rosom. He said the whole Indian of the movement into a Chadesrei, also in the days, and 20, and they come together in the month, which is Chadesrei, then you get all the koikas which elevate everything beyond the Indian of Teva, and therefore the Indian of completely Lamayla Teva is able to come down in Batar Rosa, the Indian from Kesa, that's able to come down and unite with the world. You follow? Of a Mela is that's the Indian of Kesher Yudala. Of a Mela, everybody can get the picture, to what is the remez, and what is the hint that the Rebbe took over on Yud Aleph, Sheva Yud Aleph. Of a Mela, the Rebbe goes on to say that from 20, which is the month, the day of the month of this Shabbos, we're going to Shabbos benches all the days to come, and on Monday it's already Kof Beis Shvat. So the Rebbe says openly that that's the Yortzeit of the daughter of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Rebbe says that's 11 and 11. That's 11 together with 11. 22 is twice 11. Yeah, so the Rebbe develops some length about that. The whole passing away of the Rebbe is like the meeting of the final shlemas of Yud Aleph and Yud Aleph together, and that's also got a connection with Eile Hamishpotim. We read to Mincha on Shabbos, this coming Shabbos, and the Rebbe says that Eile Hamishpotim He's also, Rashi brings a whole big arichas over there in Ele HaMishpatim, that the Rab, when he gives over to the Talmidim, he shouldn't just tell them dry piskei dinim, he should explain to them and make them understand. So the Rebbe said that's the union of Lamayla Mi'aseichel with the Inyan Aseichel. That's this whole in that we spoke about before, a fusion of the two inyanim of Etzem Elikus, which is the Etzem Sak, and the way the Talmidim understand it, that's down here in this world, and they have to unite together in the form of a Shulchan Aruch. Yeah. Okay, so that's basically, and then in the last part, even though there's a slight, they ever slightly alter the actual lashon, but however, the fact is that the Rebbe does make the point. The Rebbe makes it in a footnote. The Rebbe says that there's a big emphasis in his words most of the time that Mashiach should be miyad. We keep saying, the unit for miyad. So the Rebbe says that miyad is a Rosh Hashanah. And he says a new Rosh Hashanah, and he said Moshiach, miyad is Moshiach, Yosef Yitzchak, but the Yud is referring to the Frierdiker Rebbe, and Dalet is Doreno or Doram. And so when he writes about the Mem being Maramas of Moshiach, he's got a footnote there of it, and he says, Hari Mem Mare al Shmor Shom Moshiach Menachem. That's what he writes in the footnote. It's if you look carefully at it, the pshat really doesn't demand that. It would have been okay, in inverted commas, without that. But the fact that the Rebbe put that in, that's an interesting, to say the least. Very, very. It's so typical of the Rebbe. It's done very modestly. It's like a footnote at the bottom. And he says that the Mem is Maramas of the name of Moshiach. The Mem is Maramas of Moshiach, but it's also Maramas of the name of Moshiach, Shehu Menachem. So I leave everybody with that to think carefully about, and each and every one of us will absorb that in his own way. But we see that you've got to be a mensch in this world, and you've got to live in the Gidre Ha'olam, but you've got to take the Torah of the Etzem the way it is, and how do you call it? Aim to be just tired l'shoini imroseh. I'm only giving over, and that's what the Rebbe says in Tzemach such so powerfully. And I'm just giving over, what are the words of the Etzem and the Eibishter, and then we become all one thing. And then that is the Hachona to the Inan of Moshiach. That's the whole Inan of Moshiach. Gile Atzmusai, in the Dira, that it all becomes one. Good. Amen. And the fact that Moshiach has got a Rosh Tevis, Miyad, and the members of Rosh Tevis of a certain name, the Rebbe does write that clearly. Good. So, have a good evening, gentlemen. So now we're going to move to just an important little part of this gathering, very important, that I'm just going to give a quick, very swift lead in. You see the amazing sikhas. Like we've said on many occasions, these are absolutely, they are the absolute leading cream of the Rebbe's message to us. They are very, very, very complex in the way they're written and the way they're developed. And therefore, there are many people, both here in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutz La'aretz, that miss out on the message because they can't really, get into it themselves. And they maybe don't have the ability to get to a shiur like this one, or whatever. And therefore it remains, they only hear from others, and they, So we have here tonight a very old, very old, and very dear acquaintance of mine, Rabbi Benjamin Schlange from England, and he took upon himself the amazing task of translating into English all of these sikhas, Dvar. And he's already translated Bereshis, and I've looked at it and I've studied it, and it's a very capable piece of work. So, Benjamin, would you like to say a few words?
I'll say a few words.
You want to tell the audience?
No.
We're far and wide if you're the camera.
I want to.
Can everybody hear you?
I'd like to go back a few. No, it's fine. No, I'm not public speaking.
Okay.
No, it's fine. I want to go back a few years.
Okay.
During the 6-day war, of Zion Ches, I was learning Bocha in Kfar Chabad, in Yeshiva. And with Tzemach Kesselman, Tzaddik Avayid, who was the Mashpia. And we used to go on Mitzvah on Fridays. Actually, we used to go to Tel Aviv. And we went outside the great synagogue. And we used to like film with people. There were lots of Americans, guys, all sorts. We laid film with them, and they were just roaming around. They had nothing to do. So we said to them, it was me, there was Benjamin Cohen, who was the Rosh Hashiva in Melbourne, Australia.
Benjamin Cohen.
Benjamin Cohen. There was Daniel Goldberg, who was a translator, who was in Crown Heights, Eastern Parkway. There was a group of us. So befriend these guys, laid film with them and said, look, where are you going? You've got to come for Shabbos to Kfar Chabad, to the yeshiva. So we used to bring these guys to Kfar Chabad. And we used to learn with them, for brain with them. They had food, they were asleep. Came after Shabbos. We said to them, come on, well, where do you have to go? Stay here. And many of them did. And we went out every Friday to bring in guys. I remember one guy we brought in from Texas. He had long hair, he had boots up to here. Anyway, he was sitting upstairs in the old Zal upstairs. One of the guys comes over to me and said, look, there's a case here for you. You need to speak to this guy. So I went upstairs and the guy was, whoa, and I started talking to him about the Neshama, a part of God, and he's come from Texas, and to cut a long story short, I think a group of them, these boys, came to 770, and the Rebbe was speaking to the ladies downstairs, and we were upstairs. And this guy, he sees the Rebbe downstairs. He says, look at the Rebbe's eyeballs, he says. It was like struck. Anyway, we carried on bringing these boys in from Tel Aviv, and more of them came. Yankel Katz, Rabbi Sholem, he was a mashgiach there. He was a mashgiach, and he didn't really like what was going on. He was a Chassidish yeshiva with all boys from Chassidish homes, and we were bringing in these guys, and we brought more and more, and I learned with them each day a bit, and the other, all of us. We're the English boys, and we started learning with them. So it got to the point where there were 10, 12 boys, and the Uncle Cut said, look, this is enough. We've got to get somebody to take over, to take this over. And I am humbled to sit here after so many years. Rabbi Gafne took over. It was a Chassidish machlaka part of Shiur, Chassidish betachlis, with the whole truth and nothing but the truth. They heard from Rabbi Gafne. there were so many boys that came through and became Chassidisha. This guy who said the Rebbe's eyeballs is now a Zayda, living in, I forgot his name, he's living in Crown Heights with Chassidisha Einiklach.
You say his name.
I don't remember his name.
Avram Turak.
Aram Turak, yes.
Abraham Torah?
Aram Turak.
I remember with the boots.
Yeah. Yeah.
He once went into the Zal.
Yeah.
Upstairs in the Zal.
There's a Yaman around.
Went into the Zal downstairs. With his boots in there. Like, we were about to walk in there. And he goes, turns around. I have to bum a cigarette. You don't know what that means. You know? He goes, I have to bum a cigarette.
Anyway, what shall I say? What should I say? I'm just saying this by way of introduction and my humility of sitting at this shiur, and I want to tell you all the tremendous zechus you had in coming to this shiur, listen to Rabbi Gafne, and if I come back in a few weeks or months, I mean, everybody should bring 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 100. This place should be packed. The Tsfat doesn't know what they have. What I want to say is like this. I've taken it upon myself. Nobody finances me, nobody gives me money. The Rebbe writes in many places, this is my book. This is Sefer Bereshis, Dvar Malchus, Tovshin Nun Beis. This is unabridged, every single, no less and no more, no additives from me, the Rebbe's words. And the Rebbe writes that when you have safe prints foreign, you don't know who it's going to get out to. You don't know where they're going to go. I produced a book prior to this. It's called Security for the Land of Israel. It's a stunning book full of pictures of Eretz Yisrael. I was in New York for 3 months. My son got remarried, and my granddaughter, his daughter, got married. And I had with me 400 of these, and about 800 of Security for the Land of Israel. I sat in 770, giving away low, silly prices. And I personally, I actually, to the stores on Princeton Avenue, took 3, 4 cartons. But I personally actually one-to-one, face-to-face sold. I mean, it didn't make much money for me, but that's not the point. The point is that 300 pages of Shleimus Haaretz was received. It's very interesting. My son does driving. He lives in Crown Heights. And he had occasion to meet Danny Danon, who, I don't know now, but recently he was Israel's representative in the UN. And my son, just a driver, he's the Chabadnik, the Lubavitcher, Imamin. He says to Danny Danon, have you seen my father's book? I'm father. Security for the Land of Israel. So Danny Danon, speaking on behalf of Israel, says, have I seen it? I've got it. It's a big book. It's a coffee table book, black on the front. Blah, 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 blah. So as the Rebbe says, you never know where the Rebbe's words. That book is only the Rebbe's words. There's nothing of mine. This here is the Rebbe's words. But the importance of this is as follows. Together with the shiur, I've divided each sefer up into tremendous headings of what the Rebbe says. It's very easy to read. Each heading is a paragraph, a subject, and by everybody having this in their home, I say I'm not making much money, doing for 50 shekels, and it's months of work and printing and shipping, whatever. By having it in the home, as the Rebbe says, is lo'olam void, and you, who maybe cannot learn this without a Rebbe, a teacher, have this in the most easy English to look at, and these thoughts in the Mamelush in English, that's our language. You have it, and you don't forget it from a shiur the night before. You've got it here. And you meet people, and you tell people that the avodah today is lekabel pnei Mashiach tzidkenu, because that's what the Rebbe said. Kohen go kohen, Yechia Melech. What does Yechia Melech mean? Doesn't mean dead people should come back alive. Even Mashiach, who is alive with us in every generation, should be his galus, should be revealed and seen. You have to be makabel pnei Mashiach tzidkenu. And these thoughts are very easy to understand, very easy. So, to cut a long story short, I didn't come in to give a shiur, just told a couple of stories where we come together. I brought with me some books here. I've got a few more. I'm leaving early Motzei Shabbos. It's my earnest desire. This is going to be a set of 5 books. This is Sefer Bereshis. I'm now 2/3 of the way through Shmos. And then it'll be Vayikra, and we have 5 volumes. My earnest desire that these books should be received here, learned here. Anybody who can afford it should. I'm not asking to sponsor, which is thousands, but buy a few, take a few, give it for a bar mitzvah present, give it to your grandson, give it to your granddaughter, give it to your married son. That these books, the Rebbe's words, this is the Rebbe speaking for us in our generation. This is not 100 years ago or 200 years ago. The Rebbe is speaking to us for now, where we stand and where we're going. And we're going to cover things. We'll fill the table to show it around. And please just have a look at it. And those who wish to take 1, 2, or more, 50 shekels each. I brought with me a few, and take it, enjoy it, have it in your home, read it in easy English, and together with the shiur, you'll have it with you. And we should be makabel pnei Mashiach tzidkenu. My work, and Rabbi Gafne and Bakar Malchus, we should have these guys to the Rebbe.
I'll take 2. I'll take 2 and call me in the morning.
Yeah. That's the morning? Yeah. Take 2 and call me in the morning.
I'm not sure what that means.
Take 2 tablets and call me in the morning.
English. Are you English?
What's this? This is for 4.
That's for 2. He gets 100. He gets change of 100.
Oh, I see, that's for 2. Who's this?
That's mine, thank you.
He gets 100. Now you sold 4 books. You got 200 checks.
You've only lost so far. You've only lost
$5,000.
You're right. I lost about.
They've saw him.
Listen, guys, make sure everybody has one. Just pass them around and make sure people who haven't bought yet have them, okay? And I'll take it. You want to make it light? Yeah, lighten your load. So everybody has one.
I came from Naria.
That's a good place to be to get the shiur.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyways, I'm gonna. I've got 2, right? So,
Yeah. I
how
figured.
many are you gonna have?
About 15 people here to come to water.
I'm gonna get finished on the number of the money. You pay for the
I'm going to go light on Wayne tonight, and I'm going to a special family tomorrow night, Jacob.
How are you, Daniel? Are you his bodyguard?
We got Gafne. How many books did you lay out on the table?
About 18. I think the total was 18. No, there was 18 books I had in my case. I've been paid for.
Why are you throwing up?
10 here, 10,
There's
12,
nobody else down, there's nobody else down here. I don't know.
13,
Look to
14,
the
15,
right,
16,
look to the left.
17, and I'm took one, she was 8 more.
Yeah.
You still, that's
You want one?
Signatures are free.
You were singing the same time as but take it home. You want
Open up to a page.
How could Yaakov lie down to sleep on the lake? He looked after Laban's sheep for 20 years. He learned in yeshiva for 12 years. 14 years, and he never slept. And here he comes to the Beis Hamikdash, and he goes to sleep. Beis Hamikdash went to sleep. You have to read it. You have to read it out. You have it at home.
I can do it on YouTube now.
Forget the YouTube. You've got it here.
Thank you. Go, Kija Brakabat Slaka. Kashmir and Ruknis.
Thank you.
Can you sign mine, please?
I'll sign everyone.
As soon as he signs mine.
We're so possessive here. Daniel.
Yes.
Baruch haba. You staying for Shabbos?
Yeah.
Oh, Baruch Hashem.
Hopefully he's coming to settle.
Yeah, he was coming to settle 20 years ago too. No, it's like more like 14.
Daniel.
Daniel.
Warnikoff.
Baruch Hashem. Yeah.
Huh? He's painful.
Excuse me for asking, but who endorsed you to do such a work? Where does it come from? How is it? Who is behind it? Where are you to do this?
Thank you. Well, if you look at the introduction, the beginning, there's two rabbis. There's Rabbi Herschel Greenberg, who's a Boki B'Shas, who knows the whole Talmud, backwards and forwards, and he's seen this, and he's approved this. Then there's the head of the Beis Din, the Babcha Beis Din in Sydney, Australia, and his name is Rabbi Ullman, and he has seen this and he's endorsed this. And I ask you to read what they write, and you'll feel good about it. Apart from the fact that these are the Rebbe's words, nothing added and nothing taken away.
No offense. No offense.
Yes.
No offense.
On what?
On what just happened here.
Right.
Said he wrote or said he said?
You think he would be offended?
You can't hear it?
He has broad shoulders.
You can't hear
I
it?
can, but I need people to speak directly to.
No.
It's not,
Question is asked very innocently,
these
very
days,
nicely.
people don't speak directly.
Thank you very much.
My Hebrew skills is not very good. Could you please help me?
No,
It
I
says
don't
Bracha
hear.
V'Atzlacha. You know V'Atzlacha?
Amen. V'gam ata.
You know, the Rebbe says, sir, the Rebbe says he was looking for Hashem. The Rebbe says 3, 4, 2. He wants stubborn people to do what the Rebbe wants.
Well, Yidden.
So why the Rebbe looking for 2 or 3 people, stubborn people?
Yidden.
Maybe they weren't appointed. Maybe they're not official. The Rebbe's looking for stubborn. I mean, the Rebbe's got thousands and thousands of shluchim. And the Rebbe's looking for stubborn people. Why is he looking for 3 or 4 stubborn people?
That's all.
Why? It's out there. But the whole story has to go out there. And that's what the Rebbe said in Nun Aleph and Nun Beis. Has to get out there, heard and learn, internalize, and everyone has to be ready to be Makabel Pnei Mashiach, to receive the countenance of Malchus. The Rebbe says an interesting thing. He says the Frierdiker Rebbe was Makusha to his father, Rebbe Rashab. And with this, all 7 branches of the menorah. What is 7 branches? The Frierdiker Rebbe was the 6th. His father was the 5th. And all 7 branches ready for the Beis Hamikdash are ready. Who's the Rebbe talking about? And this has to be heard. Have I said anything wrong? Have I said anything wrong, Rabbi?
No.
Sign. Who's next? I'm not great. I'm reading my signature. It's the Rebbe's words. It's there. Yeah, in my signature.
I'm the Rabbi.
Have you read Rabbi Yisro, what he wrote?
I'm going to call him up and see.
I remember becoming Schleimer in Chabad, I was a young kid. I remember the young Cohen, and at that time, Shmuel Langsam was there, right? Shmuel Langsam was with you guys.
Who's is this?
I
don't even know how Lubavitch worldwide can survive without Rabbi Gafne's yeshiva in front. I mean, I don't want to get to the bottom of it. Oh, I know. But the places that exist today, tell me this. They don't know anything about this. They don't know anything about this.
He's right.
That's why you can say Yechi Adonai anywhere.
I should realize.
They don't understand.
I just want to add one word to what Benjamin spoke about. That we learned in the Sikha that the koyach that was given to Moshe Rabbeinu is that he's able to make a dira b'shleimus. In other words, that the Yisachtas, that the Tzemach with the Dvar, the way he is in his Gedorim, Perlamata, is a Yisachtas Gemara. So in the same way, you should realize that Benjamin mentioned before, when he was in the yeshiva, there was Benjamin Cohen and others that he mentioned. Is you should realize that there's the koyach of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Moshe Rabbeinu Amiti, the Rebbe, is that he was the Rebbe brought together through koyach beauty mukbal ba'atzmias. He brought together that people became like it's higher than mishpacha. It's like a sort of a union together. And I just want to you mentioned Benjamin Cohen, so I just give you an example. Benjamin Cohen, he went to Melbourne, Australia, and he became a big Rosh Yeshiva. He's the leader of a big Mossad over there. You can't remember Benjamin Cohen, yeah. And he's a very busy man. So there was this was I think after your time or before, I can't remember, but we made once a dinner for all of our, not for all, as many as we could get together of our alumni in the United States. And when I went past the Rebbe by the dollars, it was already after the Yechidas had ceased, and the Rebbe was giving dollars. And I mentioned to the Rebbe that we're going to make the dinner. So the Rebbe gave $1 and he gave a bracha of Atzlocha. And then I had behind me two Yungelite that they were going to take part in the dinner. And the Rebbe looked at me and then he looked at them as much say, oh, yeah, that's the Mishtatfin. But the Rebbe gave them a look with his holy eye. And he didn't say, oh, these guys are taking part. There was something very special the way the Rebbe looked at them. And he gave the $1 for the dinner. So it so happened that Ben Yomin Cohen, he was that year, he was by the Rebbe.
Yeah.
It was just before Tishrei,
Yeah.
we made this dinner.
Yeah.
Or maybe even in the search made sure, I can't remember, it's a long time now.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact date. I greeted Ben Yomin Cohen and he greeted me very warmly and everything. And, we spoke a bit and we memorized a bit. And so he comes up to me in 770, Ben Yomin Cohen, and he says, listen, I hear you're making a dinner, for your Talmudim and all that. And I said, yes. He said, I want to be part of it. That's what he says, Ben Yomin Cohen. I says, of course, the greatest of pleasure, So Ben Yomin Cohen, was Mavatosh. He saw, Big Seder. He's a Rosh Hashiva, and he came to the dinner, and he sat at albeit we said he had to sit at the head table, so he sat at the head table, and he sat alongside me, and he just took part in the whole thing, just like it was his simmer. It was a tremendously moving thing. And those people who knew Rabbi Bichman, Oliver Sholem from Morristown, you knew Rabbi Bichman. I thought that, Rabbi Bichman would come in and he would give l'chaim, I mentioned to Rabbi Bichman, I said, it would be very good if you come by, I thought he would come by, give l'chaim, say hello to him. He came and he sat at the end of the table, Ben Yomin Cohen's here and he's over there, and he just, took part as if it was his simcha also, of a Ben Yomin Cohen. It was something very, very unusual. And he said to me in the middle, he said, Reb Zalman, he said to me in Yiddish, I want to say something. So I said, of course, and he said the most beautiful, he's very skillful, He didn't talk a long time, but he said something tremendously, the way he gave it over, it was tremendously moving. And all the chevra, they chapped it. And do you remember Yitzchak Horowitz? Did you remember Yitzchak Horowitz? Do you remember? No, probably not. Yitzchak Horowitz. He's he plays a very expensive. He was once upon a time a virtuoso. He was a big
violin.
Yeah, violinist, and he has a very, very expensive violin. It's a world quality, sort of old-fashioned. So after Ben Yomin Cohen spoke, he got up. He was so moved by what Ben Yomin Cohen said. He got up and he grasped this thing that he had. I didn't even know he had it with him. He had it in a case like this. And he played the Ob Chazak, from the, and it was just so beautiful. And he got towards the end where it starts going fast, And it was just, it was mind-boggling, the quiet that he created with this Ob Chazak, All the guys are all up, they're all saying, Ob Chazak, I thought to myself, what's this guy? How do I come to him? And then I realized it was the Rebbe. It's all the koyach. What sort of Moshe Rabbeinu has this amazing ability to unite, the absolute essence and the etzem of the Eibishter with the gidrei hataktuinim, the way you are in the shaman, in the body. And I saw that the Rebbe united us all together, and that's why he spoke the way he did. It just came out, And I hadn't seen him in years. How long are we going back?
I haven't seen him. I want to tell a story. I used to live in Haranoff in Yerushalayim many, many, many years ago, whilst Rabbi Gafne had his yeshiva. We used to have girls from one of the seminaries there. I forgot the name of the seminary, older girls, like not youngsters, kids. And they used to eat with us every Friday. Me and my wife was at a table, chassidus, da, 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 da. One day a girl comes into us from the seminary, literature, real litfish, okay, seminary, all Baal Tshuva girls. And she comes and says to my wife, I want a Lubavitcher Shidduch. She says to me, I want a Lubavitcher Shidduch. So I said to her, well, why are you coming to us? I mean, you have a menahelet in the seminary. So she said like this, the menahelet gave a piece of paper to all the girls of the seminary, and each girl should write down what is her priority in a shidduch, a boy that she wants to marry. She tells my wife and I wrote down that I want to marry a Lubavitcher boy. So when the Menahelet saw this, she says, I'm sorry, we don't deal with the Lubavitcher boy. We don't deal with them, okay? So what did I do? I phoned Rabbi Gafne. And I said, Rabbi Gafne, have a frum girl, a good girl. I said to her, how do you come to Chabad? What do you know about Chabad? She said, I don't know anything about Chabad. I know one thing. I'm from Newtown, I think it's in Connecticut. And the shliach there, my father's Israeli, helped my parents, Shalom Bayis, and it was so good to the family that on the basis of that alone, I want to marry a Lubavitcher. Fine, that's fine. So I phoned Rabbi Gafne, and he said, look, I'll think about it, I've got somebody in mind, You got to hear this. This is unreal. So, Rabbi Gafne came up with the name, I don't remember names, and they met a boy from Rabbi Gafne's group with this girl, and they decided to get engaged. So, the engagement party, get together, was fixed to be in this literature seminary in Haranoff.
Oh man.
The time came, the girl was there, they put up on the pizza. Rabbi Gafne came with his whole troop. Yeah. Every boy had one of these on. They started singing. You see these tables there, everyone was jumping. They were going crazy. The girls were looking for everything to like. I mean, an engagement is hiding, this and that and the other. And my wife took me and I held it like this, like away. The boys were screaming and dancing, everyone on the table, everyone with a flag. We turned the whole seminary over. It was unreal. They got married. He learned in Köln for a year in 770. I forgot names, sorry. And they went out on shlichus. Who they are, where they are, I don't know. But that's the story.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Going to the seminary with your boys? Dancing on the tables.
That's the prayer of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's my even that the etzem finds the etzem.
Mahapach is the oilon, turn the world over.
Oh, but that dinner was a dogma, You got Rabbi Wittland. I knew Rabbi Wittland, but what was making him feel that he had to be part of it? It's the Rebbe. It's the curse of the Rebbe. And that's what expresses itself in these amazing sichas. And that's what binds us together, what gives us the whole chayas that we take away from this class. And I know one or two people have told, not because I want to, blow myself out, chas v'sholem, chas v'cholila. But people take away for Shabbos. Am I right, Yaakov? Yeah. And it's the koyach of the Rebbe. And tonight's Sikha just puts it so amazingly that the etzem of a rice of a kuchavricha, kulachad, the very essence, it joins up with the gidrei ha'olam, the mamish way you are in this world. Moshe Rabbeinu does that. That's the koyach. And that's in another Rebbe. And you see it all down the line, and there's most amazing way. And that's what's mechaber all this together. And that's why the Benjamin has done a most amazingly important thing. Because I know of certain people who told me over the phone that they know a whole group of people in their community, but they sort of, they hear about the Dvar Malchus, but they can't get at it, But they hear occasionally a bit of a chazara from somebody here and there, but they're not able to actually read it, b'fnim. And here we got it, and it's coming over in a way that is, in my opinion, very exact, and it's very, like Benjamin said himself, it's not mished, there's no personal comments or anything. It's only the words of the Rebbe. It's the words of the Rebbe. This is Dvar Malchus. It's the words of the Malchus itself, of the Rebbe. Listen, guys, we got to get together with that koyach, or that koyach which unites us and makes us all one thing. And that's what when we give the Shiur there on Wednesday, there's a certain trace of that, comes out. Do you feel it? It's very special, and that's the Rebbe, and that's the koyach to be mechaber, the highest inyan, the vidaber elokim with the gidrei ha'odel. That's the whole nakuda. How do you call it? That's it. Yeah. You agree with me, Daniel? You get the point. That's mamish really close. I'm not complaining. I'm not a young man anymore, But what keeps me going, and what keeps me is this unbelievable koyach of the Rebbe, and the Talmidim, and the Kesher, and the Atzmias, which unites us all together, and brings the Vidaber Elokim into the Gidrei Ha'olam. Das ist the Nakuda, Gidrei Ha'olam, and das ist Melech HaMashiach. And that's why the Rebbe writes in the footnote. The Rebbe does it in his own very modest, unassuming way. But the Rebbe writes a footnote that Mashiach is also a Rosh Hashanah of the name Menachem, and it's one and the same thing, Mashiach and Menachem. But it's that koyach that's going to lead us all, Be'ez Hashem, into the Hazara, Be'ez Hashem, into the base of Midrash Shlishi, and we'll all be together with Unzer Rebbe, we'll all be together with him, and Be'ez Hashem, it'll all be a rise of a Kuchabriko. The Yisrael, or rise of a Kuchabriko, Kulachad, the Ike, Moshe Rabbeinu, Varoshainu, the Ike, Kulachad, it's going to be through him, Be'ez Hashem. And it's happening right now. To say everybody l'chaim. It's really very moving to see you, and I give my humble blessing that this be with Hatzlochem Adbeli
Amen.
Adbeli Gor. And there's Bilti Sophie that you should realize that the English language has got its own very special markers. And the fact that Benjamin has got this over into English, well, it's got its own special little crutch. And therefore the Rebbe said to me in Yechidas that I should talk with the Talmidim B'Lashonom Hay. I should talk with them in the Lashon. And The Rabbi didn't say to me Anglit, he didn't say English, but he said I should talk to them Bilshenu Hay, and that the learning should also be Bilshenu Hay. Yeah, and therefore, right in the middle of it, Benjamin knows very well, right in the middle of Tomchit Mevim, you come into the Seder Chassidus in the morning, you got all these big mashpiyim and they're all giving over all these things, and you got a room there in the middle, and there's me sitting there teaching in English, and we got all the children sitting around. You remember?
I remember everything. I remember that a letter was written to the Rebbe that all these guys maybe should have a separate base to maybe somewhere, not in the main Zal. The Rebbe sent that letter to you.
Yeah,
they
should be part of the Zal. They have to be part of the Zal.
Yeah.
That's what the Rebbe said. They must do Chazorah in the Zal with Tomchit Mevim. That's what the Rebbe said. L'chaim, everybody. And that's the koyach of this year. That's koyach. That's the koyach of the whole Indian. All right, Daniel. And Baruch Hashem. Tira. Down the Rebbe stuff. L'chaim.
I'm a rabbi.
Yeah.